The first time Taylor Mercer realized she might actually be trapped wasn't when the elevator refused to respond. It wasn't even when her phone flashed no service like a cruel joke. It was when the building's lights dimmed into night mode, cold, automatic, indifferent, and the magnetic lock on the glass lobby door made a final, unmistakable click, a sound that told her the universe had decided to humiliate her. Taylor inhaled through her nose, controlled and sharp. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no, no." She shoved the door again, harder. The glass didn't budge. The city glowed outside like freedom on display. 20 stories below, people were still living their lives, going home, kissing their partners, drinking wine. Meanwhile, she, Taylor Mercer, CEO of Mercer Innovations, a woman who could get a meeting with anyone, anywhere, at any hour, was locked inside her own building after midnight like a common intern who forgot her keycard. "This is insane," she snapped, spinning in a circle like the right angle might reveal an exit. Her heels clicked like gunshots. "There has to be a release." "There isn't," a voice said behind her, calm, soft, almost careful. Taylor turned so fast she nearly twisted her ankle. The janitor stood a few feet away, holding a mop like it was a staff from some quiet prophecy. Rachel, that was her name. Taylor knew it because she'd seen it on her badge once and thought, briefly, that it was too pretty a name for someone who moved through the world unseen. Now Rachel was the only other person in the building, and Taylor hated how the universe always made her learn lessons through inconvenience. "You knew this would happen?" Taylor's voice was razor-edged. Rachel blinked slowly. "It happens every Friday. And you didn't say anything? You didn't ask." Something about that simple reply, no fear, no apology, pressed against Taylor's pride like a thumb against a bruise. Taylor exhaled sharply. "Of course," she muttered, "because why would anyone warn the CEO that she's about to be trapped like an idiot?" Rachel's gaze held hers. "You're not an idiot." Taylor almost laughed. "You don't know me." "I know you stay later than anyone," Rachel said. "I know you don't eat. I know you forget your coat and then pretend you didn't. I know you talk to people like you're always bracing for them to disappoint you." Taylor froze. Her chest tightened with something that wasn't anger. It was worse. It was being seen. "You watch me?" Taylor demanded, but her voice didn't land with the authority she intended. Rachel didn't look away. "I clean your office. It's hard not to." Taylor forced herself to look away first, because something about Rachel's honesty was destabilizing. Taylor hated feeling destabilized. "Great," Taylor said, sharp, turning to Pace. "So what, we just sit here until someone finds us?" Rachel lifted her shoulders. "Basically." "That's unacceptable." "You want me to pick the lock with my mop?" Rachel asked, and the faintest curve touched her lips. It wasn't a smirk, it was almost amusement. Taylor stared at her like she'd never seen humor in her life. Then, despite herself, she muttered, "Don't be smart." "I'm not," Rachel said quietly. "I'm trying to make you breathe." Taylor hated that the words hit. She hated even more that she didn't have a reply. For a moment, the building was too quiet. No emails, no assistants, no board members. No one needing anything from Taylor. Just the hum of the distant HVAC, the faint smell of lemon cleaner, and Rachel standing there with a patience that made Taylor's irritation feel childish. "Fine," Taylor said, voice tight. "We'll wait, but I'm not sleeping in an office." Rachel nodded. "There's a staff room upstairs." Taylor scoffed. "Staff room." "It has a couch," Rachel added. "A real one." Taylor's eyes narrowed. "You're enjoying this." Rachel's gaze softened. "I'm not enjoying you being upset." A beat. "But I do like seeing you somewhere that isn't untouchable." Taylor's throat went dry. She didn't like the word, untouchable. It suggested distance. It suggested loneliness. It suggested that maybe Rachel had been noticing things Taylor pretended didn't exist. Taylor swallowed. "Lead the way," she said, like she wasn't suddenly hyper-aware of Rachel's presence. They moved through the empty halls together, their footsteps echoing on polished floors. Rachel's keys jingled at her hip. Taylor's pulse kept finding reasons to race. When they reached the staff floor, Rachel pushed open a door that Taylor had walked past 100 times without ever looking at the sign. Staff only. Taylor had never questioned it. It was like her world had invisible ropes. She never pulled on them. The room inside wasn't luxurious. It was warm. Sofas worn soft by use, a vending machine, a tiny kitchenette, a bulletin board full of handwritten notes and doodles and jokes, a different universe living inside her company. Taylor stood there, strangely quiet. Rachel flicked on the lights and shrugged out of her jacket. "Welcome to the place you pay for but never see," she said gently. Taylor's gaze flicked to Rachel's hands, to her wrists, to the hint of strength in her forearms. Taylor pulled her own blazer off like she needed air. "I didn't know this existed." Rachel's smile was small. That's the point. Taylor found herself staring at the window. It faced east, a wide sheet of glass looking out over the city. The skyline seemed closer from here, less like something she owned and more like something she lived in. She sat slowly on the couch. Rachel hovered like she didn't want to take up space. Taylor didn't like that. "Sit," Taylor ordered. Rachel blinked. "What?" "Sit down," Taylor repeated, softer this time. "You're making me feel like I'm keeping you on the clock." Rachel's breath hitched, a tiny reaction. Then she sat on the other end of the couch, leaving space between them that felt intentional. Taylor glanced at it and felt annoyed by the gap, though she didn't know why. "So," Taylor said, crossing her legs, "how long have you worked here?" Rachel leaned back, eyes lifting toward the ceiling. 3 years. Taylor frowned. "And I've never spoken to you?" "No," Rachel said. Her voice wasn't bitter. It was matter of fact. That somehow made it worse. Taylor's fingers tightened around her phone like it could be forced into a signal if she squeezed hard enough. "This building is a dead zone," Rachel said, watching her. "They installed it on purpose." "On purpose?" Taylor snapped. "That's a security system," Rachel said. "No one can leak prototypes or take calls in certain areas." Taylor felt her cheeks heat. Of course, she had signed off on that. The irony was disgusting. "So I trapped myself," Taylor muttered. "Kind of," Rachel agreed, and the softness in her voice made Taylor want to throw something, not out of anger, out of discomfort, because Rachel was being kind, and Taylor wasn't used to kindness without an agenda. Taylor leaned her head back. "I have a board meeting at 8, she murmured, mostly to herself. Rachel's gaze flicked over her face. "You look tired." "I'm fine," Taylor lied automatically. Rachel didn't call her on it. Instead, she stood up and walked to the kitchenette. "Do you want coffee?" she asked. Taylor hesitated. "It's 2 in the morning." Rachel glanced over her shoulder. "You were going to work through the night anyway." Taylor opened her mouth, then closed it. Rachel turned on the coffee maker like she owned the place, which, in a way, she did. Taylor watched her move, the familiarity Rachel had with small things Taylor ignored, where the mugs were, which cabinet stuck, how to coax the machine into working. It was oddly intimate, like watching someone in their kitchen, like watching someone live. Rachel handed her a mug. Their fingers brushed, accidental, brief. Taylor's pulse spiked like the touch mattered too much for such a small moment. Rachel didn't flinch away. She just looked at Taylor, eyes dark and steady, like she'd made peace with proximity long before Taylor had. Taylor sipped. "This is good," she admitted grudgingly. Rachel smiled. "I know." Taylor narrowed her eyes. "You're insufferable." Rachel's smile didn't fade. "You're worse." Taylor stared, and then, without meaning to, she laughed. It startled her. It startled Rachel, too, who blinked like she'd just seen something sacred. The room softened. The air shifted, like something unlocked that wasn't a door. Taylor cleared her throat, as if embarrassed by her own humanity. "Why do you work nights?" Taylor asked. Rachel leaned against the counter. "Because it's peaceful." "And lonely," Taylor said before she could stop herself. Rachel went still. Taylor immediately regretted it, but Rachel didn't look offended. She looked understood. "Yeah, Rachel admitted quietly. Lonely, too. Taylor's chest tightened. The confession was so simple it felt dangerous. Taylor stared into her coffee like it might reveal how to handle feelings. "You have family?" Taylor asked, voice lower now, careful. Rachel nodded once. "A mom. She's not doing great." Taylor's gaze lifted. "Sick?" Rachel swallowed. "Cancer." The word dropped into the room like weight. Taylor's mouth went dry. Rachel's face remained calm, but her fingers tightened around the edge of the counter like she was holding herself together with her hands. "I'm sorry," Taylor said, and there was no corporate polish in it. Rachel gave a small shrug. "It's been a year. I've learned how to smile through it." Taylor stared at her. The kind of smile Rachel gave her wasn't cheerful. It was survival. It cracked something open inside Taylor, something she kept sealed behind contracts and stern expressions. Taylor set the mug down slowly. "You shouldn't have to," Taylor said. Rachel tilted her head, studying her. "And you?" Rachel asked softly. "What do you smile through?" Taylor's laugh this time was bitter. "Everything." Rachel walked closer, and Taylor's body reacted before her mind did, shoulders tightening, breath catching. Rachel stopped in front of the couch, close enough that Taylor could smell soap and warm coffee and something else, something that made Taylor's mouth feel too dry. "You don't have to," Rachel said. Taylor looked up at her. "Don't have to what?" Rachel's gaze flicked to Taylor's lips for half a second before returning to her eyes. "Be hard all the time." Taylor's throat moved. "If I'm not hard," Taylor whispered, "people take pieces of me." Rachel didn't flinch at the vulnerability. She crouched down in front of Taylor, bringing her closer, making Taylor's knees brush Rachel's shoulder. "Then let me be the one person who gives something back," Rachel murmured. Taylor's breath caught. Her voice came out barely audible. "Why would you?" Rachel's eyes softened like sunrise. "Because I think you're lonely too," she said. Taylor's eyes burned. She looked away, furious at herself for almost crying in front of the janitor she'd been rude to an hour ago. "Don't," Taylor whispered, meaning, "Please don't make me feel. Please don't make me want. Please don't make me human." Rachel's hand rose slowly, giving Taylor time to stop her. Taylor didn't. Rachel brushed her thumb against Taylor's cheekbone, wiping away nothing, just touching like Taylor was something fragile and valuable at once. Taylor closed her eyes for a second, and that was all the permission Rachel needed to lean in and press a kiss to her temple. Not her lips, not yet. A kiss that wasn't claiming. A kiss that was comfort. Taylor's breath shook. When Rachel pulled back, Taylor opened her eyes and found herself staring at Rachel like she was starving. "You're trouble," Taylor whispered. Rachel's smile was almost shy now. "So are you." Taylor's hand rose, slow, trembling with decision. She caught Rachel's wrist gently, anchoring her there. "If I kiss you," Taylor said, voice rough, "I won't be able to pretend this night didn't happen." Rachel's eyes darkened and her breath hitched. "Then don't pretend," she whispered. Taylor pulled her closer, just a few inches, enough to feel Rachel's warmth, enough to feel her heartbeat through fabric. The city outside remained distant and cold, but inside that staff room the air felt alive. "I'm not gentle," Taylor warned, though it sounded like a confession more than a threat. Rachel's lips parted. "I don't need gentle," she whispered. "I need real." Taylor stared at her like the world had narrowed to one point. Then she leaned forward, and this time she kissed Rachel's mouth. Slow at first, like testing if it was allowed, then deeper, like hunger winning. Rachel kissed her back with a quiet intensity that made Taylor's chest ache, hands sliding to Taylor's shoulders, holding her like she mattered, like she was more than a title. Taylor's hand cupped Rachel's jaw, thumb pressing lightly under her ear as if she needed proof Rachel was there. The kiss didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like a door opening. When they broke apart, Rachel stayed close, forehead nearly touching Taylor's. "We're still locked in," Rachel whispered, voice shaky. Taylor's lips curved faintly, breath still uneven. "Good," Taylor murmured. "For once, I'm glad I can't run." Rachel laughed softly against her mouth, and the sound was so intimate it made Taylor want to pull her in again. Outside, the darkness began to fade. The night wasn't ending, it was changing shape, and for the first time in longer than Taylor could remember, she wasn't thinking about escape, she was thinking about staying. There was internet in the building, electricity too. They could have turned on a computer, sent an email, tried harder to reach someone, but neither of them moved. Because somewhere, deep down, they didn't want to be rescued. Not from this. Not from each other. Rachel sat by the wide window, knees hugged to her chest, watching the soft glow of morning begin to stretch over the sleeping city. Taylor stood behind her, arms crossed, but her stance wasn't defensive anymore. It was quiet, like she was bracing herself for something she didn't know how to name. "It's beautiful," Taylor said, her voice hushed, almost reverent. "I never see it from this side of the glass." Rachel smiled, looking up. "That's why I come here. No one notices this room. I like it that way." "You brought me anyway." "You're not like most people," Rachel whispered. Taylor knelt beside her, eyes on the horizon, then on Rachel. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "Be open, be soft." "You don't have to be soft," Rachel said gently. "You just have to be here." Taylor reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Rachel's face. Her hand lingered. The sun broke over the skyline, golden light spilling across the floor, catching in Rachel's eyes. Taylor leaned in, slower this time, intentional. Their lips met again, but now it wasn't desperate or forbidden. It was full of something real, something fragile, something blooming. Rachel pulled her closer, arms wrapping around Taylor's waist, and the kiss deepened, still slow, still careful, but with no space left between them. Taylor exhaled into it like she'd been holding her breath for years. When they finally broke apart, their foreheads touched, and Taylor whispered, "I don't want this to be just one night." Rachel smiled, eyes soft. "Then don't let it be." 6 months later, Rachel tapped on the doorframe with a knowing grin. "Your 11 o'clock canceled." Taylor looked up from her desk. "Good, that gives me time to flirt with my assistant." "Secretary," Rachel corrected, walking in and setting a fresh espresso on the desk. "You promoted me, remember?" "Right," Taylor murmured, standing. "Best HR decision I ever made." She pulled Rachel in by the waist, lips brushing hers in a kiss that was warm, sure, familiar. Outside the glass walls, the city moved on, but inside Taylor's office, once sterile, cold, untouchable, everything had changed. And at precisely 5:57 a.m. every morning, Taylor still woke early, not to answer emails, but to watch the sunrise, with Rachel, in the staff lounge, where it had all begun.